Hello and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and with lots of talks about Jadon Sancho coming to Manchester United and Paul Pogba staying at Manchester United next season, fans have been wetting themselves over the potential that next season Manchester United could have a front five of Paul Pogba, Bruno Fernandes, Marcus Rashford, Anthony Martial and Jadon Sancho. So if Manchester United somehow managed to pull this off, I'm going to talk about in this video how they could line up and actually form a potentially world-class front five, one of the greatest all times, using these five players. But before I get into this video, if you want to see these five players at Manchester United next season, smash that like button, and if you have not already, subscribe down below to Alice Talks Football. Please do so you don't miss daily Manchester United related content from me, from transfer news, updates, trivia videos, and how we could line up as statistical videos and more. You could say that Rashford and Martial have been starved of service this season, with Bruno arriving in late January, right at the end of January, and Pogba being injured throughout most of the season, meaning the most creative player at Manchester United this season has been Andreas Pereira. Now, considering the fact that Rashford's missed 2-3 months out of injury, he got injured in mid-January, so missed the last 2 months before the season was ended through injury, and Martial had 2.5 months off through injury around September time. Martial has 16 goals this season and Rashford has 19 goals this season, not to mention that they've had injuries and been starved of service. The fact that they have a combined 35 goals this season, this duo, considering that they're at the bottom half of the table when it comes to service provided for them, is pretty insane, showing that if they get the service of Bruno Fernandez and Paul Pogba, both these players have the potential to get over 30 goals a season. You're probably already thinking, well, that's a bit ambitious, but even in the Manchester City game, I think it was Julian Lescott that said, put Rashford in that Man City team with De Bruyne and he could get 30 goals a season. And to be honest, is he wrong? I don't think so. One thing we learned about Martial and Rashford is, compared to Jesus, Tammy Abrahams, they don't even get half the chances they get. But they're clinical. They score on most of their chances, especially Martial. Martial scores 9 out of 10 of his chances. And one thing we know about Paul Pogba is, Paul Pogba on his day is world class. He's only played like 6 games this season. He's in like the top 5 for through balls in the Premier League. He's one of the best creative players in the world. On his day, you could say he was the best midfielder in the world. Kevin De Bruyne is their best midfielder in the world. But on his day, Paul Pogba can be. We know that Paul Pogba has world-class ability in him. So even though his heart might not be set at Manchester United all the time and he's a bit inconsistent, we know that when the team is playing well, when Pogba's on his day, the ability he has. So imagine Pogba and Bruno together. Now, I've actually done a video about how Paul Pogba and Bruno Fernandes could line up together. And in that video, I talked about the 4-3-3 formation. This is the formation that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer first played when he came to Manchester United as interim manager and he went on that run. It had a holding CDM, which was Matic, and then it had Pereira, then it had Pogba. Now, my theory is, which I talked about in my previous videos, we have a holding CDM that could be Matic, McTominay, even Fred, even a Thomas Partey if we bring him in. And then the next midfielder is a box-to-box in Paul Pogba. And then ahead of that is a number 8 in Bruno Fernandes. Now, a lot of people think that Pogba is wasted in Ole's current 4-2-3-1 system as he's playing at CDM, and Pogba's talents are passing and creativity, where in the CDM role he has to do a lot more defensive duties, so he can't be so creative. So in the 4-3-3 he goes to his prime box-to-box position, Matic covers him a bit more defensively, and Bruno's just ahead of Pogba, meaning that we can play in this formation a more attacking style of football, a more front foot style of football, because currently we're playing whole sit back and counter attacking. But if we have one CDM and 2 creative midfielders, we can play a more free flowing, on the front foot, attacking football. This also gives Pogba the chance to unlock his more creative side, as well as Bruno Fernandes. So we have Pogba and Bruno Fernandes playing alongside each other in the midfield. Both creative players, they can both score from midfield, but they can both create. And you think Manchester United, before Bruno came, were relying on Lingard and Pereira to create, and then potentially less than a year later they could have Bruno and Pogba playing together, creating to a front three of Rashford, Martial and Sancho. That is insane. So let's talk about Sancho. I haven't talked about Sancho in this video. Now, Sancho has had an insane season and he's only just turned 20. This season, Sancho has 19 assists and 17 goals in 35 games, and Sancho actually averages a goal or assist every 77 minutes, and he was 19-20 this season, which is insane. That is Lionel Messi level, so he's going to be world class if he reaches his potential, surely. And the one thing we know about Manchester United is we're at our strongest when the attackers are in behind, using their pace, counter-attacking. And with Bruno and Pogba in the midfield, they have the ability to play Rashford and Martial in behind constantly, as well as Sancho if he joins. And we saw against Manchester City when we beat them, 2-0, and then when we beat them 2-1, but the first 30 minutes of the game when we beat them 2-1 at the Etihad, it could have been 3-1, 4-1, 5-1, that when every time Manchester United got in behind, played Rashford in, went on the counter-attack, they were so deadly, they were so lethal, they looked like scoring every time. And Pogba and Bruno Fernandes could play Rashford in behind, could play Martial in behind, could play James in behind, could play Greenwood in behind, and that's when we're so deadly. And with the addition of Jadon Sancho, that's quick and pacey as well, with Bruno and Pogba constantly playing them in behind, they could form one of the deadliest attacks in football. Now, we know that Rashford and Martial are scorers. They score goals. They're good scorers. Yeah. But one thing they don't have is creativity and player intelligence to a high extent. Now, they're both great players, but Jadon Sancho, he is a creator as well as a scorer. Now, in the Manchester derby, when we won 2-0 at Old Trafford, which was our last Premier League game, we won 2-0, but we could have won 3-4, 5-0. There was two opportunities, one when Dan James got the ball and one where Martial got the ball, where they could have squared it to Bruno and Bruno would have had to tap him, but they went for the shot. Now, that's not their fault, you know, they're goal-hungry, goal-eye players, you know, they don't, but if that was Jadon Sancho, he's a creative player that wants an assist just as much as a goal, he'd probably look up to Bruno and pass it to Bruno for a tap-in, because he knows there's more chance of Bruno scoring from the angle he's at than he's scoring, meaning he gives us a bit more creativity in attack as well. Now, we're great on the counter-attack, we're great at scoring goals, but creativity is where we lacked. Although, with Bruno and Pogba in the midfield, do we need creativity? Not as much. But Jadon Sancho having that creativity on the wing means he can whip in a big cross, he can help break down teams even more, and it could form a potentially world-class attack. Now, all of these players have world-class potential. Rashford is 22, Martial's 24, and Jadon Sancho's just turned 20. The average age of that front three would be 22. Not to even mention that you have Greenwood on the bench that's 18, and James on the bench that is 22. Now, all of a sudden, that just Manchester United have gone from when we lost to Burnley, no hope, to wow, like we could be building something here. Now, obviously, there is a chance that Jadon Sancho won't join Manchester United and a chance that Paul Pogba leave. But like hypothetically, if we pulled off this scenario, it could be world class if played right. You've also got to mention that Bruno Fernandez is 25 and Pogba's 27, so the average age of that front three is 23.6 years old. That's under 24 years old, so they can only get better and better and better. And with the potentials and with their abilities now, it could be deadly as hell. Imagine Pogba and Bruno's creativity constantly playing Rashford, Martial and Sancho in behind, attacking at you with their goal-scoring ability, the assisting ability. It would be a world-class front three. Now, let me know your concept on this idea in the comment section down below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have not already, share it with your friends, hit that like button, subscribe down below to Alice Talks Football. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. See you next time.